Rude at all, but Say Her Name is specifically reserved for Black women. That chant started as a direct result, and I remember because I was an organizer at the time. It started in the early days of the Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, like Trayvon Martin early days, when Black women who are also being victimized to police brutality, like say.
Well, would you look at this, right? Two factions, the two main factions of the victim association are beefing, right? People from the black, this guy was clearly a BLM, Black Lives Matter organizer, right? He's saying that, Say Her Name is only reserved for Black people. Because, obviously the unfortunate situation that happened in Minnesota where, Renee, Good lost her life. Now they're saying that Say Her Name, white people can't say it. I mean, what can I say? I mean, there are very, very clear liberal ideologies present in that video, right? Listen, I've said it many times and I'll say it again. When you actually look at the situation in 2026 and how things are, Black people in America are hands down some of the most racist people right now. And it's not even close because they can get away with it. Because people don't really bat an eye whenever a Black person says something racist. But, yeah, like he said, say her name is only reserved for Black people. And this is a perfect example of him practicing the very racism that they complain about. Another thing I wanted to point out as well is on the white liberal side, people who experience white guilt, right? It's funny to me how people are literally on the internet nowadays apologizing for being white, which is insane to me just to think about. Apologizing for being the skin, whatever the color of your skin is. That's just insane to me. But this is what you guys get in return. This is what you guys get in return. Somebody from the white community gets, shot and, killed. And then we have a Black person saying that you can't say her name. That's only reserved for Black people. You see how those two ideologies don't line up, right? One person is telling the other person, like, don't fight for us. We don't need you. But then the other person on the other side, which are white liberals, are telling Black people, oh, you're oppressed. We need to fight for you. You need to have this. You don't have this. Never, ever works out. But like I always say, typical liberal ideology never fails to contradict itself.
Like, I don't look at a crime. If you're going into Target, a multi-billion-dollar company, and stealing clothes, it's not a crime. You're resourceful.
Not a crime?
Hell no. You're resourceful as you're homeless.
That's where we disagree, I think.
You've been displaced. I mean, because you're white and I'm Black, there's a whole nother socioeconomical piece that I have never had access to. So you can go into any single place and put your name on a piece of paper, apply for that job. You're not worried about if your name sounds too Black. You're not worried about if when you show up, if you got to do something with your locks because it's inappropriate. Target enslaved my ancestors.
Target enslaved my ancestors. I ain't gonna lie, that's a catchy line. So I guess everybody could just walk up into Target, steal thousands of dollars of clothing, and you're actually being resourceful instead of being a criminal. This is incredible, man. And the worst thing about this is that this is definitely what she's teaching her children at home. I mean, if she's gonna tell us that, if she's gonna tell us that on live TV, well, in front of a camera or whatever it is, right, being interviewed, what do you think is going on in that home? You ask, why do these children behave in a certain way? Why do children from the Black community, they come out a certain way and they think that certain things are fine and they're doing certain things and they don't even realize what they're doing is wrong. This is a perfect example right here, because this is what their mom is teaching them, because we know there's no fathers in the homes, right? The single mother rate is crazy in the Black community. And then obviously at the end, we have to insert the convenient victim card saying that, my people have been oppressed, we've been through slavery and all this stuff. As always, it's like a prerequisite nowadays. It's almost like a staple in every single conversation you try to have with somebody from the Black community. But what's even crazier is that you are actually more likely to get a job as a Black person nowadays. Like, if you actually go to a job interview, I don't even know why people use this argument anymore. If you go to a job interview and you're going up against a white counterpart, it's a Black person and a white person. If you have the same qualifications, if all things are equal, they're going to hire the Black person. Why? Because they want to fit the diversity quota. So I don't even know why people use this argument anymore. You're actually more likely to get the job. And when it comes to the hair thing, you have to be properly groomed when you show up to a professional job. Like, it's a professional setting. You have to fit the bill. You have to look a certain way. If I come to your house and you tell me to take my shoes off at the door, but I disrespect you and I walk in your house with my shoes on, you're gonna kick me out. It's the same way with these businesses. They have a certain way that they want you to look, and every single person has to follow that standard. And if you don't want to, you're not gonna get hired. It's pretty simple. I don't even know why that's a problem. It's their company, it's their rules. You have to follow the rules, or you don't get hired, or you don't work there. I don't know why that is so hard for people to comprehend. I've been looking at, the unfortunate situation, obviously, that happened in Minnesota with that woman losing her life, right? Could have been prevented, right? Didn't have to happen. But what I want to point out is a kind of a more important thing as to where we're headed, because this is exactly the type of behavior that the people on the left who are in power are encouraging these people to do. This is just a result of the people at the top, right? The people who are in power in the on the left, the leftists who are in power, the liberals, right? People in the Democratic Party who are telling these people to resist. They're actually encouraging this and telling them that this is okay, because these people would never ever behave like this or act like this if they were not encouraged to do so, or maybe they were not getting paid to go to these protests and doing all sorts of things, right? If people at the top were not encouraging these people to do these things, they would not be doing this. And there are a plethora of other examples I can give, right? You can talk about the immigration problem, right? When Biden and them were in office, right, the Democratic Party normally has open borders, right? They just let anybody into the country. What happens, right? These people come over and they stick here for years and years and years, and then they don't file for the right paperwork. They don't do the right process in order to stay a citizen of this country. And then somebody like Trump comes in, and then he kicks everybody out. He's deporting them at rapid rates, and their lives are getting ruined. Not only are their lives getting ruined, their children's lives are getting ruined. So the Democratic Party and people on the left who are encouraging this don't even realize that they are literally hurting the people who they are so-called trying to help. Because obviously, coming into a country illegal and staying here and not getting the correct documents, right? Which they are encouraged. I mean, these people are getting incentives. They're getting, taxpayer dollars. They're getting their food paid for. They're getting apartments paid for, right? They're getting housing paid for. What incentive is there for them to actually go out and do the right thing and get their documents? And in the end, right, when somebody like Trump comes in, who hurts, right? Who feels the brunt of the kick, right? Who feels the brunt of the pain? Them, the people who these people on the left were so-called trying to help. Another example could be the Somali case that's going on in Minnesota right now, the fraud, right? The Democratic Party and Tim Walz, right, clearly encouraged these people and allowed the fraud to go on. They knew it was going on right under their nose, right? You're telling me the top guy, the governor, doesn't know that this is going on in his state? And what happens, right? The Nick Shirley goes on and he exposes them, right? What happens now? All the child care funding has been paused, and now all these children and the institutions who are taking care of these children, now they have to jump through hoops to prove why they deserve that child care funding money. So every single time, it's all these liberal policies and these progressive policies. Every single time it happens, they are hurting the people that they're trying to protect, and they're vouching for without even knowing.